Craig, first off, just kind of your impression of where you're at. Obviously, the quick turnaround that you mentioned, but just kind of the overall impression there.
Yeah, quick turnaround. Obviously, find out last night at about 7:45, 7:50. We were second to the last team on the deal, but we're excited to play in the NIT. Obviously, amazing tradition over a long period of time, and it comes at you quick, right? It was a few days ago. Where we have a great win again, played very, very well against Arizona State. Colorado was playing outstanding, the hottest team in the league coming in, right? We were right there, made a couple of really good runs. Obviously you lose, and there's a little bit of a finality to that, and a lot of emotion that goes into that. And so we actually practiced yesterday. Nothing crazy, but we did get in there because we felt very strongly we were going to get into the NIT and do it. So it's been a whirlwind here, getting ready for UC Irvine. And, these guys have won 24 games. Coach Turner has been there a long time and has had a lot of very good teams. It was a few years back where they beat, I think it was K-State in the NCAA tournament. Have some familiarity with their program just because, when I was at Utah State, we played them at their place. And then last year there was a guy in the portal. So just getting a feel, but they're big. I mean, their starting center 7'1", 265. Like, they have great size. They pound it inside. They have winning pedigree. Like, this program has won a lot of games for a long period of time. They're very good on both sides of the ball. Their starting point guard is number 2 in the country in assists, including the last 5 games, averaging just over 9 per game. So. And then they play a lot of guys. I mean, I think they have 11 guys on their roster that average double-digit minutes per game. So even the last game in the championship, they played 12 guys in the first half. So they play a lot of different guys. They have real depth to them, and they have great size that you maybe aren't used to seeing, like at the Big West level that way. So they protect the rim. Teams only make 5.8 threes per game on the season. They do a good job of chasing teams off the line. So, it's going to be, we're practicing here. We should have film it later today in about 2 hours, hour and a half. And so it's a one-day prep. It's a quick prep. At the same time, it's game 34 for us. So at this point, we got to be able to know what we're doing. We've seen teams like this before. At this point in the year, nothing's crazy new. So we got to have great focus, being in the NIT, I think that's a big thing in postseason play is just, having your mind in the right place, ready to compete and have a fighting spirit. And just, there was never a doubt in my mind, like what I felt like we should do. I think it's important to play anytime to help your program, right? To help your individual players keep getting better. It's hard to simulate games, but there's also a championship to be won. And so I did talk to all the guys. Basically all the guys, and a common theme I kept consistently hearing from guys is we want to play. This is the closest knit team, most together team I've ever experienced, and we just want to keep this thing rolling and want to play for each other and see what we can do.
Coach, you mentioned the other day that how happy you were to hear some of your players say, "We want to keep playing," right? And obviously the NIT is an invitation tournament. There are teams who will turn it down because of the letdown or whatever. So, how unique is it especially for you being who's coached on several levels now, how unique is it to get that message from players after a letdown of a season where you want to make the main tournament, quote unquote, but you're gonna get invited to the NIT? Well, how unique is that mentality?
It's a great question. It's a really good question, and I'm pausing because you think back to all these years, right? And there's always self-reflection, and it never hit. When I was a small school coach, I was at Mayville State, and our first year, I'd taken over a program that had won 1 game, right? So the year before we got there, they were 1-27, and I think the average margin of defeat was like 28 points. Like that was they were not good. In our first year, we won 17. And we made it to the national tournament. And we lost in the first round to the defending champs. Unbelievable, great game. And afterwards, you just kind of going around the locker room and allowing guys to speak. And, flowing in tears, right? And And it was my first year as a head coach. I was 31 years old. I was 32 at that. I got hired at 31, 32. And the NAIA National Tournament is all at one site. You have 32 teams at one site. So it's really cool. To win it all, you got to win 5 games in 6 days or 5 in 7. And they have a lot of the same workers that help. The whatever, I don't know what you call them, like the people that help with the tournament, they're whatever. So we were assigned these 2 people that have done it for forever. People work, and they're like, I can't believe how impressed I am with your team, all this stuff. We rarely see teams be that emotional after you lose. And I was like, what do you mean? You know what I mean? Because I was just like, he was like, well, so many of these teams, they're so excited to be done. And that just never dawned on me, like, how is that even possible? So, but the older you get, you do realize I've been on some of those teams, mainly as an assistant at times. And so when you have it, you know it. It's really important in the recruiting process. Not that the recruiting process is perfect. It's never an exact science. But, you know, it's hard when you lose that game. And there's so much that goes into it. And you these guys are together for 5 months, not to mention 2 months in the summertime, not to mention this summer we went to Spain. So there's a lot that goes into it. It's not a surprise to me that they kept mentioning they want to keep it going because they love being together, right? So I'm really proud of that. Like, I know my job is all, we got to win, we got to do certain, I understand that, right? But there's also a different level to this thing, right? That as a coach, that a big reason I'm into this is you hope you help guys have an amazing experience, not coddling them, not, you know, none of that, like demanding hard work, demanding sacrifice, like all that stuff, but come together. It's really rewarding. And so for our guys to say those things, right, individually to me, and I know they had a little get together or meeting, like it means something, and they want to keep it going. And that's a hard thing to do when your dream is to do something, right? And now, but this is, you just got to look at it a different way and have it in a different mindset. Now there's a tournament to go try to win, right? And now there's 32 teams. There's 32 good teams. Way different field, like you said, it's an invite. It used to, when I was at South Dakota, we won the regular season championship with the Summit League, and we were not able to win the tournament championship. So it used to be we automatically got an NIT, right? This is the first year it's not like that. So we played Eastern Washington first game of the year. They won the Big Sky Championship this year, regular season. They got upset in the tournament. Any other year, they would have been automatically in. This year, that's not the case. So, like, when you look at the field, there's a lot of good teams, a lot of very good teams, a lot of teams with great tradition, historic tradition of excellence. Villanova, who's the #1 seed on our bracket, right? I mean, but you can go right down the line. And so there's good teams, but obviously not perfect teams, right? We all have some holes that we got to figure out and try to, you know, not eliminate, but manage. And so, you know, those first, and then now you're out of conference play, and now you're playing somebody totally different again. And there's some freedom in that too, I think. And they don't know you inside out and backwards. We don't know them inside out and backwards. And then I think there's something to that. So the first 10 minutes tomorrow, who knows how it'll be? It could be a lot of different ways. And I think you'll kind of settle in and go and play. But it means something. It matters. When, I don't know if you were at the post-game press conference when we lost, but 2 different reporters asked that question to Brandon and Gabe. And so we didn't even talk about that. We never talked about that, not one time this year. Would we want to play? Would we not? Never brought it up. And so for those 2 guys to be able to answer it the way they did, you know, Gabe was like, I love hooping. I love to play. I love to compete. And BC had the same sentiment. I wasn't surprised at all because they love to play. They love the game. Some guys love what the game brings them. Some guys love the game and love to compete. And those 2 guys specifically said that, and I was really proud of that. And now our guys have echoed that sentiment, and super excited that we get to play, get to get better, get another day of practice, get to play another game, and hopefully it keeps moving forward.
Speaking specifically of Brandon, you know, he means a whole lot to this program. I think that's very clear.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people wanted to see him make the NCAA tournament, but in a way, I don't know, is it cool to you guys that he gets a couple more games in the Huntsman?
You know, you'll have to ask him that. He had a really good senior night. So hopefully that's a sign of things to come. But you know what? Brandon loves to play the game. Obviously, he's had a historic career here, and, you know, He's did a lot of amazing things, and he bleeds it. He lives it. He loves it. Really, really proud of him. And I just think he's excited to keep playing, and he obviously, the way he went, got hurt against Oregon, and the way he kind of fought his way to playing that, we literally didn't know. Obviously, we knew he was going to do everything he could to play, and I think that helped us, especially, well, it helped us both nights. He was clearly better, even better the second night, so as more time goes on. But, listen, he gets to play in the Huntsman. He loves this place. He loves playing here, and we're excited to be able to coach him again and hopefully keep this thing going.
Greg, the portal opens today.
Yeah.
Do you expect to have your whole team available tomorrow? And then I guess beyond that, how do you expect to manage that while your season is still potentially going on?
Yeah, I think that's where some of the, I think there's a lot that goes into it, why people are choosing not to play, why some are. It's just, you saw this in football. I always think it starts with football. It kind of trickles down. We saw it all with bowl games and championship, bowl champion, or conference bowl championships. I don't know what they call it in football, right? But then the bowl games, and some were playing, some weren't. I don't know. I anticipate all of our guys. Haven't heard otherwise. So that's where it's at. Obviously, big day today. We're recruiting. You know what I mean? And so, but the NCAA did change its rules a year ago. This is the first year in effect. We're now the head coach, the 3 assistant coaches, plus 2 other guys, so 6 total people can recruit with phone calls, right? Only the head coach and 3 assistants can go on the road recruiting, but now you have 6 guys that can recruit, 6 people in your personnel that can recruit. So that's a great thing. So obviously we're doing both, right? You got to be able to do both. Recruiting is it's year round and it never stops. But certainly it amps up today, right? When, what is it, 150? I think there's already 150 guys that are in the portal. So probably more now.
Do you like how the game has changed that way as a coach? How do you, I guess, from where you've seen it to where it is today, how do you kind of deal with that, knowing the changes?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on it. I'm not going to get crazy in depth on it. I look at it like this is reality. This is how it is, and the things have always changing. I think certainly last 3-4 years, 5 years since COVID on. The amount of change in college athletics, not just men's basketball, in college athletics from the COVID years. Just simple things like it wasn't that long ago that cost of attendance was a big thing where student athletes get $5 extra grand from the school. The schools had to decide, am I going to pay cost of attendance? Right now it's just that's a given, right? But that was just 5 years ago. So the amount of change has been incredible, but you got to adapt and adjust just like you do in life, and you got to be able to figure out, but is it different? Yeah, it is different. Professional sports have 2-year contracts, 4-year contracts, 8-year contracts. You know what I'm saying? It's different than even pro sports. So you just got to adjust and figure it out and keep moving forward. But there's some things, you got to really look at. Times have changed, and I got to, you got to keep evolving. And it's just not only just recruiting, but just how you go about your program. And without getting into crazy detail, I think there's some things we're gonna do differently next year to adapt and adjust and keep pushing forward.
Time for 2 more. It's a return to the postseason after 5 years of no national postseason tournaments for Utah. Just what does that mean for the program and potentially for its direction going forward?
Yeah, there's some there were some really good times this year. There were some difficult times this year, and this team has had to go through some different things. And I think it's the most wins since 2017 or 2018, right in there, which I didn't realize until not too long ago. This team has had to overcome a lot. These guys work at it. They put their heart and soul into this thing. We're not perfect by any stretch. Nobody is, but it's a group that works hard and wants to get in there and be the very best that we can be. And so to be able to get into the postseason play and have something to play for, I think it matters. We have had to overcome a lot. Of the top 6, this is as of 4 days ago or 3 days ago, of the top 65 teams in the net, I believe our program has had the 3rd most games missed due to injury, right? And can be hard to overcome. with some things, and to have that opportunity to still be right there, I think says something about our guys. And that's not even counting the guy that, we thought we had in our program that ended up not being who was a good player. So there's just been a lot. But like I said, I'm proud of our guys. They're a great group to be around. It does mean something to get in here. I think the last time was the NIT. Is that right? Right? And so you just got to, I think being able to play in postseason where it's win or go home, right? And you just got to find a way. And I just think that's where you got, what's your competitive spirit about, right? Do you love to play the game or not, right? And so I'm super excited for practice today. I thought we did a good job yesterday, but it'll be a lot different type of practice, right, today to see where our competitive spirit is. And, to be able to play at home again, right, and possibly 2 times and maybe even 3. But obviously to do that, you got to win the first game. And Irvine's going to provide a good test for us.
Last one. Craig, the NCAA since 2005 has owned the NIT for the men.
Mm-hmm.
This year is the first year where they have something equivalent for the women. And I'm curious, just with your experience in college athletics, and kind of seeing how the whole landscape has changed, what do you think the significance is that the NCAA has said, let's have an equivalent for the women as well?
Well, it's long overdue, is what I would say, right? I didn't know that, quite frankly. So, it's like, a few years when we were the COVID year, I remember this picture, because we were all in Indy, right? Every team, all the 68 teams were in Indy. And I don't know where the women were at. I just remember seeing the picture, and I don't know if it was in Oregon. I don't know if it was the weight room, and there was this little set of dumbbells, and the men had. I didn't see the weight room, but whatever we had. So that's the way it should be, right? Everybody in the same setting, same environment, same. I don't want to say advantages, but same equities and things that are involved to help you compete at the very best level. Does that make sense?